Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. Time for another hard rock and metal update. This one should be mostly metal. If you guys check it out, I'm sporting the Metal Roundtable shirts. If you guys aren't familiar with the Metal Roundtable, it's a live stream that's done by Rob Caldwell, Scott Waters, and why am I drawing a blank? Carcass John, sorry. I'll put a link down below. Really killer. I believe it's on Tuesday nights. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure it's Tuesday nights, though. It's always a lot of fun. I've taken part in it a few times. I think I'm taking part in one in the next couple of months here, in the next month or so. I can't remember off the top of my head what the topic was, but looking forward to that. But they got some really killer shirts that Carcass John put together, and I really dug this one. Anyway, let's just kind of jump in. First up, a little bit of Metallica, Metal Up Your Ass. This is one of those boots that I've wanted for the longest time, and the prices are always stupid. I see people selling them online for like 50, 60 bucks. Finally found it for like $25. I love the Dave Mustaine Metallica. I like all their stuff from the 80s, but I really like the Dave Mustaine stuff. And so it was really cool to grab that one. I've had a CD copy of it for years and years, but I've always wanted it on vinyl. And they sound really good. Next up, just one of the all-time great bands. I absolutely love Corrosion of Conformity. I love everything that they've released. I pulled this one out because I wanted to get it signed by Pepper when I went and saw him a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago. I actually I ended up buying the No Cross No Crown. So apparently they were out. Him and Woody were out signing stuff earlier in the day, and I missed it. I was watching another band when that happened, and they didn't do, at least from what I saw, they weren't signing stuff after the show. So I just went over to the table. I believe it was Woody's wife that was there, who was really cool. And I ended up getting a signed copy. When I do the room tour, you'll see it, but I got a signed copy that's signed by Pepper, Woody, and I think it's the drummer I think it was only the drummer for that album. I love Deliverance, though. Pulled this one out. Again, I brought it to the show to get it signed, and I've spun this like 3 or 4 times again since it's been out. These recent reissues I'm glad they finally did them, because I've had original pressings. I've had the pressings that were done like 7 or 8 years ago, and they all sounded terrible. They finally got it right, and these sound fantastic. So, next up, this one was a cool one. So Hidden Treasures and Studio Rarities, 89 to 95. So this is basically the Hidden Treasures album with some additions to it. Some stuff that's in the war chest. I of course have Hidden Treasures on CD. I don't know that I don't think it's been released to vinyl, but I could be wrong. And then it's got the stuff, all of the additional stuff that was added to War Chest, the new material that was on War Chest, which I have as well. But it's really cool to have these on vinyl. It sounds fantastic. If you're not familiar, it's Hidden Treasures was all the covers and the covers that they did and the songs that they did for soundtracks. And there was some other stuff from where there's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 additional songs that weren't on Hidden Treasures. So if you run across this, again, it was like 20, 25 bucks. 100% worth grabbing. Next up, maybe one of the most disappointing albums, but still an album that I enjoy. Pink Bubbles Go Ape, the follow-up to Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. One of the best power metal albums of all time. Then they followed it up with Pink Bubbles Go Ape. You can tell with this album that they were struggling to figure out who they were after Kai left the band. Um, there's still some really good. I like the whole album. There's no duds on here, but it was just such a disappointment when this came out. Keeper of the Seven Keys 1 and 2 were so good, and then Pink Bubbles dropped, and everybody was just like, "What the f?" And it was a grower, and now I do like it. It's not one I go to a lot, but from time to time it's cool to spin it, and it is nice to have it on vinyl. And it does sound, they did a really good job with these reissues. Next up, Crowbar. I just have one Crowbar left, and it hasn't gotten a recent reissue. I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head. But this is the Serpent Only Lies. Man, you cannot go wrong with Crowbar. They don't have a bad album, in my opinion, and they're still fantastic live. I saw them live last year. Kirk sounded fantastic. Just a killer album. Definitely worth grabbing if they're still available. So Crowbar is one of those bands, they don't issue their stuff that often. As a matter of fact, a lot of these hadn't been pressed since the original pressings. The last couple years, E1 has been releasing them one every few months, and they always do a limited color pressing. And once those sell out, the prices go through the roof. I believe these may still be available, so go check out the E1 website. Really killer album, though. Next up, this is I was shocked to find this. A store that generally never has metal ended up having this. I don't like picture discs, but I didn't have this album. So I wanted to grab it regardless. But and I'm really glad I did. But this is the Blood Feast Face Fate EP. Just really killer thrash. And the good thing with these thrash picture discs, as long as they're in good condition, the thrash is just so loud and intense that it covers up the noise from the picture disc. Because when you start it, it sounds terrible in the quiet spots. Luckily the thrash outdoes it though, but it was like 12 or $13, so I wasn't going to pass that up. And once I run across an actual copy on regular vinyl, I'll pass this on to somebody else. But for all you thrash fans, you can't go wrong with a little bit of Blood Feast. Next up, a little bit more Megadeth. Risk, by far the worst album that Megadeth released. I'm not a fan of this album at all. I don't think this one's ever been even released to vinyl. I don't believe it has. I can't believe that this is Dave Mustaine and Marty Friedman. It was just such a drastic change. It's not metal. I don't think there's a single metal song on here. It's more just straight hard rock. It's just one of those weird albums. And there are songs on here I like. The song Breadline is fantastic. I love that song. I've actually seen Dave play like 7 times since this came out. And that song does pop up in the lineup from time to time. There's another song, is it Crush 'Em, that they play at sporting events, I believe. It's still a decent album. It's not one I go to often. But when I saw the boot for a good price, I went ahead and grabbed it. I think I grabbed this one from Billy Hurst too. But I'm still glad to have it in the collection. I love Megadeth. It's one of my favorite bands of all time. Is it a good album? It's a good album. It's not a great album. People talk down too much. It's still all good writing and good songs. It's not thrash or metal. And then last but not least, super stoked to finally get this one on vinyl. This is one that Scott sent me on CD about, it's 2023 now. So close to 10 years ago, 9 years ago. The Downward Spiral, they did a limited run. I think they only pressed 100 of these. But this is the Mosketeers. Just really killer thrash. Highly recommend checking it. I believe you can still get the CDs from Rox Records. I'm not sure about the vinyl, but Scott was nice enough to get it signed for me. I don't know if you can, how well you can see it, but it's signed. And then he also got me one of the picks from the tour. I believe it was from the. It was either from the tour or from in the studio when they recorded it. I believe it was from the tour though, and but it's one of the picks that was actually used. Was it Paul? Was it? I can't remember off the top of my head now. Regardless, fantastic album, fantastic thrash, a must-have. And then last but not least, I might have said that for that one, but this was the last but not least. This is one that I ordered like a year ago. It finally came in. Super stoked. It sounds really good. Glad to finally have this. This is one of those that they'll do a repress and it'll sell out in hours, and then the price is $100 within a week. I haven't looked at what the prices are on these. When I last checked a couple days ago, there were still some available at Run Out Groove. I highly recommend this one, but this is the deluxe edition of Sepultura's Roots. They are a bit pricey. I believe it was $140 or $150. But they're already selling for more than that, and the price of this isn't going to go down like other boxes. I think they only did 1,500 of these on the colored vinyl. But let's pull it out. So you got so of course you've got Roots. They just did a killer job. And Run Out Groove usually does, man. Run Out Groove is one of the best. I can't remember what color the vinyl is on here. Yeah, so this one's like a red colored vinyl. Not much to say about Roots. I mean, Sepultura is Max era Sepultura is maybe my all-time favorite band. If you guys saw the video I just saw, Max and Igor a couple of months ago playing, what was it? Was it Arise? Playing two of their albums live. Arise and Beneath the Remains. And, man, I saw them. I actually, not only did I see them on this tour, I saw them on this tour right before they broke up. Actually, it wasn't even on this tour. It was after this tour, but this was the album that they were touring for. It also comes with the Roots bonus tracks. So this is 2 more LPs. And then there's the huge poster of the album cover. But this is the bonus tracks, and we've got what do we got here? Oh man, just different sessions of different songs, rough mixes, demos. I really like some of the demos. Some of the demos I actually like better than the final product. Let's see. Some remixes. Really cool, though. Let's see. And then last but not least, what excited me the most was Sepultura live at Ozzfest 1996. And I've talked about this before. Run Out Groove must have got the rights to that whole Ozzfest, because this is the second band that they've released with the live set from that show. So what's cool about this is from the very first Ozzfest in Phoenix, Arizona. So the Ozzfest didn't start out as a touring thing where it toured all over the country. The first year in 96, there were 2 shows. There was one in Phoenix, and then a couple days later, there was one in LA. The Phoenix show was 1 stage. The LA show was 2 stages. So there were additional bands at the LA show. I was there to see Ozzy and Sepultura. There were a bunch of killer bands. Danzig did a fantastic set. Who else? Fear Factory was fantastic. I actually, when they did the demanufacture Run Out Groove reissue. The third album or the third disc was the Ozfest from the same day, which again I was at. So it's really cool. This was a fantastic show. I have really good memories from this day. It was my first time seeing Sepultura, and unfortunately my last with the original lineup, because this is September. Is it? Does it say what date? No. So this is October 25th. So the end of October, the beginning of December, Max left the band. And I believe there were only a couple shows between this and that. So really at the end of Max's run. So it sounds fantastic. It was a great set. The only thing that's different, and it could be in my head, I remember them starting with Radha Mahata. I could be wrong, but for some reason I remember him starting with that, not ending with it. But regardless, it was a killer show, and I'm really happy to have it on just a copy of it, whether it was CD or vinyl, didn't matter. It's really cool to have that. I wish they would release on vinyl Under the Pale Gray. Is it Under the Pale Gray Sky? I believe it is. That was released a couple years after, it may have been 5 or 6 years after Max left the band, but it was Max's final show. And it's a killer live album. It's one of my probably 15 favorite live albums. But, and it's a longer set than this. This one, they were, one of the lower acts. They were like 3 before Ozzy. So they did 10 songs. Whereas Under the Pale Gray Sky, they were the headliners, so they did a full 2-hour set. And then apparently right after the show, Max walked. Didn't say anything to anybody. He just walked out. So that's it, guys. If you run across that Sepultura, grab it. It's fantastic. I don't know how many of the black that they pressed, but I believe they did it in black too. So one thing that they did was cool too. Like I said, they did 1,500 on the colored vinyl, and they did a limited clear edition, and they did 150 of them, and they sent those out random. I haven't seen anybody that got one of those, but of the 1,500 people, or 15 of the people that pre-ordered and still are, as they're available, that they're ordering these, they're randomly mixing in or replacing the colored version with the clear version. And because there's only 150 of those, man, if you get a hold of one of those are going to go through the roof. But that's it, guys. I hope everybody's doing good. Take care. I'll see you soon. Later.